Amy, thank you so much for coming on the show here today. Really excited to have you on. Could you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm from Oregon. I grew up in Beaverton, Oregon. I was there for most of my life until I had to go to graduate school for physical therapy.
Okay.
I went to USC for physical therapy school, and since then I've just been practicing. This is my 15th year. I can't believe it's been that
Yeah.
long. But
Yeah.
in a nutshell,
I love it.
Oregon
I love it.
native.
I love it. I love it. What inspired you to be a physical therapist? I always love getting people's like background stories and what got them in the field. So what inspired you to become a PT?
Sure. I know everyone has their own unique story. Mine actually started with just a fascination with the human body. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do as soon as I got to college. In fact, I
Mm.
changed my major like 9 times.
Wait,
Um,
9? Is that?
yeah,
Well, that's a lot.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
I was very wishy-washy, but eventually I tried to go into an area that I thought I not only enjoyed but also could succeed from an academic perspective because I wasn't great at school either.
Yeah.
I had to retake a lot of those core science classes like physics, biology, chemistry. So I knew I wasn't going to go into, medicine per
Right.
se.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
but but yeah, I love the human body. I loved the mechanics and learning about that. And I had a bad injury towards my last year in college. I fell off a cliff when I was doing a Black Diamond ski trail,
Oh, man.
and kind of had the triad, ACL,
Oh, yeah.
MCL. Had a really bad bone bruise, and went to PT. It was not a positive experience, but I learned more about it.
Mm.
And long story short, I found a physical therapist that I was able to shadow, learn more about it. I became like an aide at a clinic, and then
Yeah.
just looked at different settings of physical therapy, looked at schools to figure out what are the requirements to go into physical therapy school, and then went from there.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And then talk to us a little bit about your career path because obviously you said you've been doing this for a little while and you've had some pretty cool positions. So I know people would love to know like kind of the steps along the way. Could you share that with us just a little bit?
Sure. Like after physical therapy school.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you
Yeah.
finished up, what were the steps that got you from then to now?
Yeah, it's funny how the interest kind of goes through an evolution. So I had an orthopedic injury that got me my initial interest, but after school I was very into the neuro setting. I
Mm.
really my grandmother had passed away from stroke, and
Okay.
I really enjoyed working with brain injuries. So that was my initial setting. I worked at a brain injury rehabilitation institute. And then pretty much like the inpatient hospital setting for like 3, 4 years. I developed some skill sets in the orthopedic, uh, 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 particular orthopedic patients. And then from there, that started to branch out into outpatient orthopedics. And then from
Okay.
there, outpatient orthopedics to more like private clinics and sports med clinics. I ended up making lots of friends with athletic trainers,
Yeah.
and everything just kind of funneled in organically. I just kind of followed interest and made friends, and one thing led to another. Eventually, I think I had been practicing about 8 years or so when I got my first uh, interview with the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
That was with the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
And I'm extremely grateful for that first door of opportunity. Went through the whole interview route, and that's where it started in pro sports. So
Okay.
that was 2019.
Yeah.
Um,
And did you
it's
know you wanted to be in pro sports? Was that like on your radar, or was that just something that you said like kind of just happened?
It was, I would say it wasn't something that I said I'm going to be doing, but it was on my radar. I knew that I enjoyed working with this particular population of individuals, higher level athletes. I got very good at knees and ankles. High
Yeah.
school ACLs were
Sure.
just through the roof back in the day, and they still are.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that I just really wanted to be the best clinician that I could be. And following that growth, it kind of led me to, I think, where I am today.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, I would love to start kind of like big picture, and then we'll drill down on a couple specific topics. But I always love to know when I'm interviewing a strength coach or a physical therapist, I always love to know kind of like your philosophy. So would you mind sharing with us just your big rocks when it comes to physical therapy? What's your foundation?
Foundation is teaching the tools for my patients to take care of themselves.
Mm,
I think I can bring the best care, the best advice to those that I'm working with. But if they can't take those clinical pearls home and use it on their own without reminding, I don't feel like I've been able to do a successful job.
mm,
So that's kind of my main philosophy and rocks of everything. I try to figure out how to strategically provide those tools that are specific and individualized to the person that I'm working with, which differs from one person to another.
yeah. And have you found, is that easier in the professional setting, or does it just depend on the athlete? You know, because I've met some really like motivated high school kids, but when there's money and contracts on the line, that's a good motivator too. So,
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Uh, One can easily generalize working with professional athletes versus non-professional athletes, but it depends on the person. Because
yeah,
I've been fortunate to work with uh, very receptive, high-level athletes, and some that are not so receptive.
sure.
But it takes getting to know the person. How do they like to receive the communication? Who they are as a person? Got to get to know them and figure out what works best for them.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think people are always shocked, and I'll speak from my experience because I don't want you to have to say anything on this topic, but there's always exceptions, right? And some people are shocked when they hear this person that's played in the NBA maybe 10 years or they played pro football, whatever, that they don't like love their job. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, hey, just happens their job is really high value and they make a lot of money doing it, but just like anybody else, just like the accountant maybe doesn't like showing up, and some pro athletes don't love their job, but they're just really good at it and they make good money. And so it's hard for like I would describe it as just like a common lay person to understand that. But hey,
Yeah.
not everybody loves it. And so just like
Hmm.
you said, sometimes those high school kids, they're ready to lock in and do the rehab, and it just depends on the person that you're talking to.
Absolutely. It really does.
Yeah. So one thing I'd love to know too is just I'd love to learn more about your process. So could you just kind of give us an overview of what your assessment process might look like, and then how you would use that to drive a more personalized rehab plan? Because like you said, everybody's different.
For sure. Well, in the current setting that I'm in, I work in a team setting, a professional team setting with the Pelicans. And
Yep.
we have a phenomenal staff of 12 people in our performance training group. And so we have an algorithm, if you will. When I eventually get my hands on the athlete and player, I do a head to toe evaluation, and it always includes what are the athlete's goals. And from there, I like we were talking about, individualize the plan, because a return to play program for an ACL will be different for athlete A and will be different
Yeah.
for athlete B. I'll strategize the plan based on the clinical findings, get objective measures. Typically, like a 3-phase program, depending on how severe the injury is, what type of injury it is, and starting from acute, mid phase, and then return to play. And I collaborate heavily with our performance staff. Daniel Bove
Might have
is
heard of him. I might have heard of him.
is
Yeah.
someone you may know.
Yep.
Collaborate with him heavily with that return to play process. So everything is very seamless. And we have KPIs, key performance indicators, or specific measurable goals on a weekly basis to make sure that we can safely progress forward
Yeah.
and have it more criteria based. And some patients will advance sooner and some will advance slower. But it's a way to uh, have more of a criteria based plan as opposed to like timeline based
Right.
plans. Although you
Yeah.
do have to sometimes respect the biological tissue timelines as well.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I love that. And I love seeing that we're moving in that direction. Obviously, tissue healing is a thing. You can't
Oh yeah,
fast track that, but you also can't just say, well, at 6 months or 9 months, you should be doing this, right? Because, like you
yeah,
alluded to, everybody's different. So I'm
yeah.
curious, you've mentioned ACLs a couple times now. What are some factors that might determine if it's maybe on the shorter end of the timeline versus the longer end? What are some like confounding factors or things that, not even with the Pelicans, but just over your years, what are some things that may slow down or speed up that process?
Great question. Loaded answer.
Oh,
There's,
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
I mean, the research now says that you don't want to come back sooner than 7 months. So
Yep.
you could come back at 7 months, but there's a higher risk for a re-injury if you come back sooner than that. So trying to make sure that you're reaching all your KPIs by that time. I think as long as that the programs have in place everything to check the boxes off, range of motion is probably the first thing before you should start running. Probably one of the common issues is not gaining full knee extension.
Yep.
So just making sure you're working through those small details, getting adequate strength symmetry indexes before you start running and
Yep.
jumping. So those basics, I feel like if you check those boxes and you really get to the point where you can start to work through your athletic progressions, you should be good.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one more follow up on that because I'm so interested in this. I work in basketball too, obviously, and so I don't see them acute like you do, but I've seen people that are, hey, maybe they're 9 months out, or I've seen them, hey, they had an ACL 7, 8 years ago now. What are some of the objective tools or maybe technology that you guys use or that you've used in the past that you've had success with that helps you kind of be objective about that process? So it's not just like, oh yeah, I feel like they're ready.
Oh
Like
yeah.
how do you like objectively kind of check some of these boxes and feel like, no, I think they're good to go?
Yeah, coming from the background of prior to working in pro sports and working in a clinical setting where we had more basic resources and using like a leg press machine to
Yeah.
assess like a 10 rep max,
Yeah.
I'm honestly full transparency still learning about all the new technology that keeps on coming every
Yeah.
single year.
Yeah.
But we're blessed to have force plates that we can measure someone's counter movement jump, looking at so many aspects of that takeoff and landing, and symmetry and absorption.
Yeah.
We can look at not only just the strength of the left and right leg, but we can look at power, and it's incredible how much resources we have in the team setting. But I love collaborating with Daniel Bove and our other strength coaches on staff that can assist me with that using the VALD resources. We have the ability to look at force production, the velocity of force production. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at too, is everybody that listens is in a different situation, right? So
Hmm.
maybe it's a leg extension or a leg press because that's what you have access to, or maybe you have access to really cool, force plates and all the other technology, but I'm always interested in what people are doing. So that's really valuable. Something
Yeah.
else that you mentioned was patient education. And
Yes.
I'm really interested in that. And so I'd love to know, number one, how do you keep people focused over the course of a 6, 9, 12-month rehab? And also, how do you keep them focused on your plan? Because
Mhm.
inevitably now we're just flooded with information. And so
Mhm.
with that information, it's like a blessing and a curse. There's a lot of noise too.
Yeah.
So how do you educate your patients and how do you kind of keep them focused on the end goal?
I would say it starts at the beginning when you with your rapport and relationship with with your athlete, with your patient, and when you ask them what their goals are, your plan and your 6-month, 12-month plan was extrapolated from their goals, and so it's something that they have been involved in the process. So I
Yep.
think one of the strategies is just to start from that beginning, and then of course you're going to check in with them and remind them where they're at. As a PT, we do reevaluations every 30 days.
Mm.
So every 30 days, we're not only re-measuring and taking more objective measures, doing some more tests, but we're checking in with them. Where are you at with your goals? Are these goals still the same? Do you have new goals? Do you have anything that you want to do differently? And just kind of stay involved in the process. Because
Yep.
if you are on the other side as a patient and they never check in with you, what's the point? It's like that you feel
Yeah.
like they don't care about you. So
Yes.
definitely keep them involved in the process.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things too that I don't think people understand if they've not gone through a long-term rehab is, yeah, you're evaluating every 30 days, but you're also seeing these people almost every day of the week, right? I would assume,
Right.
especially in your environment, it's those daily check-ins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just
Yeah.
keeping them, you know, it's easier almost in that sense because they can't get too far off the path. It's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
let's come back here, let's refocus. But yeah, just I think I always come back to if people know that you care about them and that you genuinely want them to succeed, everything is so much easier and the buy-in comes naturally. You don't really have to force it.
Right. Yes. Yes. And sometimes they're not totally bought in, and you do the best that you can, and you provide the best information that you can. Everyone has different environmental challenges around them.
Yes.
So you just do the best that you can, and some athletes have people that work for them as well. And I've been there before, and you just want to be very communicative with the entire group to
Yes.
help maintain that rapport and know that your intentions are the same as theirs, which is to get back.
Yeah, yeah. That I think that's a great point too, is, the higher levels you go, there are just more people involved, right? From the surgeon, the rehab maybe for the team, the strength coach for the team. If they have outside people, an outside PT or strength coach, there's just a lot
Mhm.
of people and a lot of voices. And so the better that team communicates and maybe kind of removes their ego from the situation and just lets the athlete know, like, hey, look, this is not about me or my ego. This is about getting you back. Then again, ultimately, it best serves the athlete.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so keeping this kind of theme of like long-term rehabs, how do you address the mental and the emotional side of that? Because, I mean, you came off a pretty serious injury yourself. And unless you've spent either yourself or with an athlete going through like a 6, 9, 12-month rehab, the mental piece is really hard. So how do you go
Yeah.
about kind of keeping them like focused or happy or, like how do you keep them emotionally and kind of mentally satisfied throughout that process?
Yeah, that's very important. I think any rehab, however short or long, requires that mental peace, mental discipline, if you will.
Yep.
I just try to stay on that motivational side, like a cheerleader, and
Yeah.
try to involve as much of their interests as possible. Try to find other interests. I'm working in basketball. They can't play basketball. That's their job. That's how they make a living. And you have to, if you put yourself in their shoes, you have to figure out what else can they do to keep themselves motivated. So we figured that out from the beginning. I had a guy who he loves DJing on the side. So,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, what mixes do you have this week? Come on, let's share it.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Um,
that.
yeah, everyone has their own way to go about it. Some people need a little bit more motivation. Some people don't need very much at all. And sometimes space is the more preferred than me trying to get in and motivate the individual. So knowing who you're working with is important.
Yeah. And how much of that for you is just feel? You've done that for 15 years now. Like, how much feel comes into that of, is this just a bad day? Is it me? Like, how much feel comes into that on your side?
A little bit of feel, but as even though I've been doing this as long as I have, I find it's always challenging working with a new athlete and a new rehabilitation journey. Everyone has their own challenges, and I'm learning constantly.
Yeah,
Put
yeah.
it that way.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. And one thing that I don't think a lot of people respect either is that when you get to the professional ranks, not only in most cases are you working with a very sophisticated person in the sense that they've had a lot of PTs or strength coaches, trainers. They've had a lot of influences, but they also have just a lot of people in their ear. And so your job is to try and like, hey, be like this calm, rational voice of reason and not just, another piece of noise that they have to listen to. And that can be hard
Yeah.
because the other piece, it takes time to build trust. And you
Yes,
know
it does.
that, like,
Mm.
so many people are coming at them for money or whatever. And so for you to just be like, hey, I don't care about any of that. My focus is on you. Even if you have the best intentions, sometimes those relationships and that trust building, it just takes time.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah. One of the things I always like to think of, I'm not like what I would describe as a super motivated trainer, and not in the sense that I'm not motivated, but I'm not like the rah rah kind of guy.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the rehab, I feel like a lot of times I have to like put that hat on, and sometimes you have to bring a little bit more energy to the session,
Yeah.
just to because generally their energy is lower, right? Like
Hmm.
their body's stressed, they're healing, recovering. So sometimes
Hmm.
I have to like bring that up. But no, I
Hmm.
like that. And I like that idea of, hey, sometimes though you do need to just step back and let them have their space. And that's what
Yeah,
they need to process it and move forward. So I love
for
it. I
sure.
love it.
Yeah.
In your experience, what are some of the biggest issues or maybe sticking points that people have when they're going through one of those long-term rehabs?
I think the sticking points happen when people start accomplishing small goals, like the early
Mm,
KPIs or even like the mid-phase KPIs, and it's a success. It's a feeling of success and accomplishment, and then getting comfortable with that. But
mm,
you don't want to get comfortable yet. And in fact, I would encourage you to never feel comfortable. You got
yeah,
to challenge yourself to change yourself in a positive manner and get to where you need to be from a rehabilitation standpoint. So getting comfortable is easy to do when you're just checking off the boxes. Hey, you're doing great. You got your full knee extension. You got your strength. This looks great, but we still have this to go. Some players like to see their entire rehab plan like up front. Some people like to just get reminded this is what we have next.
right.
So depending on who I'm working with, I'll try to keep reminding them what's next, so there's still something to chase after,
Yeah.
and that we don't get too complacent with.
Yeah. You got to have the carrot to dangle,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes too, it is helpful because, especially early, right? When they see a 12-month calendar, like that can be really overwhelming. And
Yes.
so that's where it's like, yeah, we need to have that as practitioners, right? And you're
Hmm.
probably more on the front end and I'm more on the back end. We need to have that, but they need to
Hmm.
just kind of like one foot in front of the other, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
here's what the next 2 to 4 weeks looks like. And
Yeah.
then, like you alluded to, hey, now, but here's the thing after, but let's just focus on these 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Absolutely.
do you get any athletes that are this probably comes along with the complacency a little bit that err on the timeline side of the equation? And here's what I mean by that. When somebody tears an ACL, right, they figure I'm out 9 to 12 months. Do you have any, or have you had people in the past where they just assume that, hey, at 9 to 12 months, once I have surgery, I'm going to be good to go regardless?
Oh
Like they just
yeah.
don't check the boxes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I for the most part, I'm a pretty nice individual, but
You
sometimes
seem
I
nice. You seem nice.
some- sometimes I have to be stern and let them know that where they're at, even though they've met a timeline uh, criteria, their risk for re-injury is what's going to hold them back if they're not meeting certain objective criteria from a strength
Yeah.
perspective. That's just a discussion that you have to have with your athletes, especially if you're trying to make sure that they get back in a safe manner and not start over a process that they've worked so hard to get to.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And again, that's where like having the objectives and having the KPIs in there, you know very clearly, are they meeting the objectives and the criteria along the way? And if not, it helps you in that sense if you're being stern and you're having this discussion of, hey, look, your whatever limb asymmetry is 30% or 35%.
Yeah.
Now it's not you just being a bad person or you holding them back. It's like, no, there's like real data there that supports they're not ready to go back and play their sport yet.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the best things that you can do as a clinician and coach is to be a straight shooter when it comes to letting them know where they're at. And you want to do it in a manner that they're receptive to, but also it's your job to give them the transparency so then they can do what needs to be done to help themselves succeed.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. So you alluded to this, and I think this is an incredibly fair point. This field, just physical therapy, strength and conditioning, it's evolving so quickly, right? Like every time we pop up, there's new tech, right? Or there's new techniques, whatever. How does somebody like yourself, who's in a high profile position, obviously you work for a professional organization, I'm sure every day you're seeing even more stuff than I do, right? How does somebody like yourself stay up to date on like the latest trends and the best practices in your field?
Continuing education in all its forms, all its glory.
Yeah.
Continuing education in the didactic form, that you can find through journals and research, and then also continuing education that's more practical in person and having practical conversations with your colleagues, doing things practically, integrating them at the clinic. So that whole spectrum and tying it together, I think, is what helps me stay current, because it's always changing. The things I did 10 years ago are completely different than what I'm doing now.
Yeah. You feel archaic, right? Even like 5 years ago, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, that was the Stone Age. Why was I doing that? But but it's such a great point too. And I think finding that balance between, hey, yeah, like there's value in reading the research and understanding, all of the underpinnings and the whys. But then there's also a lot of merit in going out, and in your case, you're surrounded by great practitioners, but going out and seeking out other great practitioners, watching them work, having these conversations, just being curious.
Yes,
sometimes
absolutely.
I don't think like it's not hard. It's just like keep asking questions. Yes. And if you keep asking questions, ultimately you get better answers over time.
Yes. And also allowing yourself to fail if you need to and be okay with learning from that. It's making mistakes. It's going to happen along the way. Allowing yourself to learn from those areas.
Yeah. Okay. So this kind of brings me to a question that I just thought of. When it comes to evolving, right? And we talk about, I've been doing this 25 years. You've been doing this 15. I think anytime you're over the 10-year mark, you've had enough time to like come full circle on some things. Is there anything like here recently that comes to mind where maybe you've come full circle on, or something that you didn't believe in the past and now you found a place for in your training? Are there any things like that you could share with us?
Oh, that's a tough question. Geez, anything that I've found in my can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. No, just, is there anything you've kind of evolved in your line of thinking over the last, 5-ish years, right? Like something where you're like, maybe I didn't understand it, or I didn't see the value of it. And now you're like, no, like this, I get it now, or I understand how to use this better. Because sometimes that's it, right? It's not that it's a bad technique or a bad idea. It's just you didn't have a place for it in your philosophy.
I think probably the biggest thing that sticks out in my mind that I've developed over the last 5 years is the patience of working with your athlete and really getting to know what their individual preferences are. And that's what that's really like the secret to having success with your athletes. I think prior to that, maybe if I rewinded my clock 10, 15 years, in
Yeah.
my head, I was like, I knew the recipe for success in terms of rehabilitation. Okay, I just
Yeah.
need to do this, 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 and this.
Right.
But it's not always that easy, and you can bring the best resources to someone, but if they don't, they're not sold on that. They're not going to use that information, no matter how excellent of of high quality evidence that you have. So I think just having the ability to be patient and listen to the individual, get to know them, and figure out what their individualized preferences are, um,
Yeah.
is probably the biggest thing I've learned over the last 5 years, and it's still improving.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm still working on it and learning.
I don't think we ever truly hit the nail on the head with that one, right? It's like
Hmm.
you could do 1,000 ACLs, and like you said, no two are the same. Yeah, hey,
Hmm.
the KPIs and the criteria and the things you want to see, that's pretty static, right? But every
Yeah,
person's unique and how they approach rehab and
yeah,
their body and their physiology, and like you said, there's just so many things that make it individual. So yeah, you
yeah,
can have all the criteria and algorithms, but at the end of the day, there is like a little bit of art to it, like you alluded to, and knowing the person and how to push the right buttons at the right time with them.
yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Okay, big question time, Amy. If you could alter the space-time continuum and give young Amy Atmore one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my. Young Amy Atmore
Told you it's a big
at
question.
what time of my life?
Anytime.
Pre college.
Yeah.
Shoot. Shoot. I would say don't be afraid to leap out on your own to go for what you want. I think I've
Oh, I
always
like that.
been a little on the shy side, hesitant, apprehensive to try to do things outside of the box. I think that first period of my first 8, 9 years of practicing as a PT, I learned a lot. But I think when I eventually took a leap of faith and kind of started to challenge myself a little bit more, that's when I grew the most. So I would tell
Yeah.
my younger self to not be afraid to jump off board to try new things.
Yeah, I love that. So I recorded it yesterday. It'll go up the previous week, but I had Steph Grubbs on, and she said something very similar to the
Yeah.
effect of, "Hey, I got the best things in my life happened when I got comfortable being uncomfortable." And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's such great advice, and it's much easier said than done because when you're in it and you are uncomfortable, you're like, "Oh, why did I do this?" But at the same time, when you reflect back, you're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
but that like hockey sticked my
Oh
growth.
yeah.
Hockey sticked. I don't know if that's a there was a hockey stick curve in my growth, right? And it's like
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
a sudden you
Spike.
go from being, yeah, huge spike because you go from being very comfortable and complacent to you're uncomfortable, but now you like unlock this cheat code of getting better and growth and
Yes.
un- uncomfortable but good.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. It's a very difficult thing when you're constantly in a comfortable zone, but definitely encourage it for anyone listening who wants to do something but are a little too afraid to do it. Because the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out and you can try again. Because
Absolutely.
life is
Absolutely.
short.
That's right. I love that. I love that. Okay. Last but not least, we've got our lightning round. Okay. So four fairly short questions, but your answer can be as long or short as you like. All right. Number one, how do you balance being a mom and working in pro sports?
Childcare.
Oh, I didn't expect that answer. I like that. I like that. It's hard though, right?
It's
Like
hard.
being a
It's
parent and
doable,
full time
but it's
gig.
hard.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
have my family here. Working in pro sports, I think 90% of people do not live next to their family.
Yeah.
So you
True.
just have to find some good people that can help you. And it's a sacrifice, but if you are able to do that, you can do both.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay. Number two, I'm excited about this one. What's your best advice for picking a PT school?
Mm.
Because I know there's
Uh,
people listening to this, young people that want to go to PT school. What
yeah.
advice would you give them to find the right one?
do the research and look for what you want in a PT school. So look for PT schools that you can see yourself going into geographically, and
Yep.
then go on to their websites and start creating pros and cons of all these schools, and maybe some other columns like the cost for tuition, which varies dramatically from one school to the next, and
Sure.
maybe look at their success rate for passing the board exam, and just compare those. And help that'll help you choose the one that you want to go to.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay. Number 3. What's your best advice for somebody who wants to be the next Amy Atmore and work in the NBA or be a director of rehab? What advice would you give to somebody that wants to follow your career path to some extent?
Oh my. I would say, follow your career path. It'll take you where you want to be. Follow your interests. Be the best practitioner or clinician that you can be, and it will take you where you want to be. Don't give up.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay. And then number 4, what's next for Amy Atmore? What are you working on? What are you excited about? Anything?
Oh my. I'm shoot. Just trying to do the best I can to take care of my current team, and trying to help the next generation. I have a wonderful team that I'm currently working with, and trying to share the knowledge. Just want to try to help everyone get to the next level.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, Amy, it's been amazing catching up with you today. I really appreciate your time. Where can my listeners find out more about you and all the great work that you're doing?
Where you said?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Well, I'm not too active on social platforms. But you can always send me questions. I always respond to my emails. I like emails with specific questions. If you have them,
Okay.
email me,
I love it.
dramyatmore@gmail.com.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I think that's just good life advice too. I've had
Mm-hmm.
numerous people where they're just rambling for like 3 minutes and then I'll have to like be like, hey, is there a question in there? You know, like you said, if you want to ask somebody something, especially
Yeah.
somebody at Amy's level, have a specific question and you'll
Yes.
probably get a better answer than if you're just rambling. And we've all had those emails, right? Where they're
Oh
like
yeah.
this long and I'm like, I'm not really sure what this person wants or needs, but I appreciate the time that it took,
Yes.
but come up with a real specific question. So,
Yes. Yes.
Amy, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on.
Mike, thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.